Are you too busy? Too stressed out? Unhealthy? Then this is the place for you. Welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, where we help you create wellness and balance with a holistic approach that will work for you, even with the busiest of schedules, so you can live the life you want. And now, here's your host, Diane Randall.
Hello and welcome. I'm Diane Randall, your host. I want to thank you for joining, and if you're new to the show, welcome. It's really exciting to have you here and listening. I want to let you guys know that we have maybe 3 or 4 shows left till the end of our 2017 season, and we'll be working on some exciting podcast episodes to support you in your life. We'll have the best industry leaders, as we've always had, including solo shows. So I want to invite you to join us for new shows in January 2018. So just wanted you to know that we'll be taking a little hiatus. Today's episode will give you some practical tools and tips on how to create a life with more purpose. My guest is the awesome Kathy Knowles. She's a speaker, trainer, and consultant who speaks on the 7-step system for creating more purpose, profit, and possibility. Kathy works with busy professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners to help them leap out of the day-to-day and onto playing a much bigger playing field so that they can do the work that's in their heart and leave a legacy. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much for being here. I want you to talk more about your work with purpose, profit, and possibilities, just to give the audience more of a picture of the kind of work that you do.
Absolutely. You know, I myself spent many, many years in corporate. I was a corporate human resource director. And, well, I absolutely loved what I did in working with the people. And I had the capability of having sort of an entrepreneurship role there, that I could kind of go out and know what needed to be done and get it done and then go report back to the owner of the organization. There was something inside of me that was just yearning. It was, number one, it was yearning to come out and play and to be more creative and to be more in that essence, you know, of mindfulness. And I couldn't really explain it, but I knew it was there. And it wasn't until probably about 2 years after I left corporate and I started working with my clients. And, you know, they had their businesses, they had their roles and their positions that they absolutely loved, but yet they felt like they were stuck behind the desk all day. That you know, really they were an employee in their business and they weren't able to do what they had really thought they would do in opening up a business. So I work with them to really help them get clear on what is your purpose? What are your values? What is it that in the end game, in the long run, you really want to be doing? And Diane, it's just been such a beautiful gift for me. You know, I have clients that were stuck in the office working 12, 14 hours a day, trying to do it all, constantly putting out fires. And now they're spending less time there. They're relying more on their teams. They're out in the community doing things that really meant a lot to them. So it's been amazing and remarkable.
Kathy, so how do you help people tap into that intuition, that yearning, that thing that's inside of them that's yearning for something more?
Yeah. Well, you know, Diane, part of the reason why my company name is Intuitive Strategies is because I have always very easily tapped into that intuitive side or right brain side of myself. And I think it's something that we are all capable of doing, all of it. But we have to be able to find the silence and the silence within us. You know, it's that gap between the words. It's that gap between the musical notes. And that's truly where all the beauty is. And it kind of starts first in a really weird way of just what you're unhappy about, right? Like, you know what you don't want. And because there's so much almost of what you don't want, there's that settling into it and really acknowledging it and honoring it. And then starting to not have the fear to let go. And then moving into what it is that you do want.
I can remember when I was really young. And when I didn't know what I wanted, but I could cite off a list of what I didn't want.
Yeah, right?
So what I hear you saying is that's where you start first.
Yes. And your intuition already knows it. I think that intuitively we have a tendency to know things. Like, first it'll be, we notice aches in our body, or we notice that there's something about our energy off, or we notice that, I'm just not comfortable. I'm not comfortable maybe with this person. I'm not comfortable in this job. I'm just not comfortable. I'm not happy. And it's okay to not be comfortable when we're striving for something bigger. But it's not okay to not be comfortable when we're doing what we're doing now in our day-to-day life.
So what do you say to people that experience that, but they just can't seem to really feel and experience their intuition because of all the chatter, all the things that are going on in their lives?
Right. I ask them to not run from it and to really lean into it. I think as human beings, right, when we have so much going on in our head, we sort of love to allow ourselves to be stuck in the dogma of society, the dogma of watching too much TV, the dogma of maybe paying too much attention to what other people are doing and not enough attention to ourselves. So I asked them to really lean in and get really real with themselves. And part of that starts with silence. I love rituals, and I love journaling. And, initially for some people, journaling can be very hard. So I start with some people that it's a challenge with, and telling them to just spend a little bit of time, even if it's 5 minutes in silence, and then start to journal what you're grateful for. And then from there, I have them start to journal about other things, that maybe things that they're not so grateful for, that they'd like to let go of.
And that's so interesting that you say that, because those activities would bring forth things that just doesn't serve us anymore.
Right.
So how do you help people release the things that just don't serve them? They can articulate it, they know it, they feel it, but for some reason they just can't let it go. Yeah.
Well, we really get real on what it is and why they can't let go of it. And, Diane, typically it's so interesting. It's probably a habit, or it's something that we really learned as a child. Not bad, not good, right? But it's something that we learned as a child through our families. And again, there's no judgment around that because we've all done it. But now what we've done is we've taken what we've learned and we've made it our habit as well. But sometimes when we really look at some of those things, we have to ask ourselves, is this really me? Like, is this really the authentic, soulful me that wants this? Or is it something that I've just learned over time and now I'm carrying out into the world? And it's interesting, typically, it's just something we've learned. And then the way we start letting go of it is to ask yourself those kind of powerful questions. Is this something I really want? Is this something that is truly me? Is there something I could do in this moment that would serve me better?
I hear you when you say that. And I know people who can hone in on that, but then they say, but it's my husband, it's my kids, it's my parents, it's all these other people that I have to serve. And I really can't. I know these things about myself. I know what doesn't serve me. I know these habits are bad, but because of what I have to do for and with these other people in my life, I can't change. I can't change these things. So what can someone do if they find that their outer world is really in competition with what's going on with them inside.
I think it's important to get really real with ourselves because we all have choices. And I know that there's some choices in our life that we feel that we must choose. I understand that, we have ill parents, spouses, possibly children, and there's things that we must do. But looking at everything that circles that or everything that is outside of that, maybe we don't have to do. And it really is standing up in the energy of what are some small things that I'm doing today that I really don't have to do? Like maybe sitting in front of the TV. One of the things I love is, all the not meditation, but all the coloring books that they have now out for adults.
Yes.
I love them. That. Yeah, I love them. It's like even to take something like that and turn off the TV an hour earlier and just sit and allow yourself to be in another space, in a quiet space, and in colors, something on one of those adult coloring books. It's so beautiful because, again, it takes us from that left brain, that analytical, that being stuck in the day-to-day, being stuck in our problems, and it moves us to the right brain that opens up our spirituality, our creativity, and allows us to balance and be.
I love that you said that, balance and be. So we have checked in with ourselves. We figured out what we don't want. We're making better choices, small choices to make our lives different. Let's talk about boundaries. How do you protect how do you protect your new life? How do you protect the things that you want to be able to do without the outside world coming in and changing things?
Yeah, and we're both laughing right now, Diane. We know that's the challenge, right?
Right, it is the challenge. And you know what? When I have shows and people like you on, I ask that question to everyone because I really can't stop asking it because there's always some awesome anecdotal advice that we can get and recommendations.
For sure. And I think, when it comes to boundaries, it really comes to us being true to ourselves first and to understand in life, the more we love ourselves and putting ourselves first, so the more we love ourselves, the more we're capable of loving everyone else in our life. And I witnessed that. I went through some big changes in my life around 2001, 2002. And I thought I was such a great mom to my kids, right? But then all of a sudden I stepped away from that, not my kids, but I did. I stepped away from the energy of that, they need me, I can't leave them, they, all this. And I stepped into a bigger role for myself, which I found all of a sudden I was nurturing my kids more. I was less fearful of what the choices my children were making, and I was letting them make those choices. So it really is important. And I believe number one is understanding that a no is a no, and it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no. I know I used to say no, and that's a complete sentence all by itself.
Yes, it is, isn't it? It is. It is.
But it's also
I think,
hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think understanding too that maybe our family or the people that are closest to us are just acting this way because they're afraid. They're afraid for us. And it's okay for them to be afraid for us, but it's not okay for us to be afraid so that we stay in those old habits. It's not okay.
It's not okay. And if we are afraid, sometimes I say, you're going to have to do it afraid. You're going to have to do it scared, because sometimes when you're afraid and scared, that's where you go deeper. You go deeper into figuring out, why am I scared? And it's okay if you're scared. I always say that means you're standing in your own strength,
Oh, I love that, Diane, because that's so true, right? It's pushing in, it's going deeper. It's looking at the shadow side of ourselves and realizing that there's beauty there too.
There's beauty there too. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that shadow side, and You don't have to heal everything. Those places, like you just said, those dark sides. It's not that you have to get rid of those dark sides, it's that you acknowledge the dark side and you become friends with it, and you know that authentically this is part of who I am, and that's okay. Is that what do you say to your clients when they talk about their dark side?
Yeah, that first of all, I love the way you just now said that because it's so very powerful. But, a lot of times the things that happen that we consider to be dark or bad or terrible, really, when we looked at them down the road, they were actually our biggest gifts. And we may have started going down that road because of our dark side, right? Because of that choice, right, or because of whatever it may be. But those could be some of our most beautiful gifts. And I think, too, when we know our dark side, we can actually laugh about it a little bit, and we can talk to our friends about it, our female friends, our tribe, whoever they are. They can even know what that piece of our dark side is, so that when they see it coming, they can let us know it's coming.
Right. And that's what I love about getting older, wisdom, intuition, because you don't make excuses for yourself. It's, you show up in the breath of who you are, and you don't make apologies for not being perfect or having, a dark side that shows up every now and then. I tend to, like you talked about a tribe, appreciate and attract more people into my life today because I love the authenticity of people showing up and being okay with who they are.
Yes. What a gift, right? What a gift. And then we all feed off of that. We all grow and feed and learn, and with each other we understand that if one of us is having an uncomfortable moment, the tribe lifts you up. We're not going to take you out of that uncomfortable moment.
Yeah.
But we're there. We're there. And it's just beautiful.
We're there to support you and give you the space that you need to just be where you are in that moment and not feel we have to say or do anything. I love that you said that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of times, people try to take our problems or our challenges away from us. And that's not what our soul wants. That's why we're here, right? Our soul wants us to be able to look at those challenges in the eye and acknowledge them for what they are and sort it out.
And the issues and the problems, I remember in graduate school, I had a teacher that said, issues aren't in the way, they are the way. And I really, really, really take that to heart because it's so, so true.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it is so true. It's what builds our character and integrity and authenticity.
But do you feel we live in a culture, and I like to ask this question, that doesn't quite appreciate our authenticity or showing up in our shadow side and bringing all that to work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We live in a culture where in the workplace where it's still very much do as we say, not as we do. We want you for your knowledge, but not necessarily for all the aspects of you. And I think that's why with some of the organizations that we hear about that turn out to just be such great, remarkable companies, is because they allow communication, 2-way, 3-way, 4-way communication to be there, to be authentic, and to be really real. And it's not running away from what we feel we don't want to hear as a business.
I know recently I had a couple of gentlemen on who talked about servant leadership.
Love that.
And they talked about, it's really what you're saying. It's the name that kept coming up was servant leadership, where you start listening to the people. You start leading with your heart. Like you say, you help businesses do. You lead with your heart. You listen to people. You have empathy and compassion for those people. It sounds like there's still work to do in corporations, but it also sounds like maybe the tide might be turning a bit in terms of working with your heart, like you say, to leave the legacy that you're proud of.
Yes. And Diane, I do agree with you that there is this shift and there's this feeling as these organizations are proving themselves over and over again, not only to be very strong in regard to their team and their people, but their clients and their customers. And then the rest of the world sees businesses like that being profitable, right? Now you're starting to realize, wow, it can be all inclusive. It doesn't have to be just one thing. And truly, to me, it starts with your team. And it doesn't matter if you're a solo entrepreneur with 1099 people, or, if you have a business of 3 or a business of 200 or a business of, 5,000, 20,000. It really does start with the team.
Wow. So, Catherine, if someone out there is listening to you right now and they're saying to themselves, how do I start the process of being more intuitive and just having a life with more purpose and flow?
Yes. I think, first of all, be really mindful when your intuitive hunches are right. I teach people to be more intuitive all the time. It's one of the things I do. I have a monthly, year-long course. And the biggest thing is, I don't think I'm right. I don't think I'm right. I don't think I'm right. So what I want you to do is when you have that hunch, I want you to follow it all the way through. Everyone who's listening, take that moment, write it down, that thing that came to you so quickly, because that's the way intuition comes. It's almost like a butterfly flies by you, right? It's the energy feel. It's you really can't feel it, but yet there's something about it that it happened. So take the time to really write it down, to be mindful of it, and then pay attention to whether or not that hunch was right. And I think what's really important with your intuition as well is to leave your ego at the door and do nothing but follow your heart, because your intuition is very much attached to your heart.
That is so beautiful. And with that, I want to thank you, Kathy, for being here and sharing your wisdom and intuition and the work you do with purpose, possibilities, and flow. You've certainly given us some practical tips and tools that we can use in our lives today.
Thanks, Diane. I so appreciated this conversation. I love it when we can kind of sidestep, but not really sidestep, and talk about this topic because I hold it so closely to my heart. So thank you so much for allowing me to do that.
And thank you for being here. And all of Catherine's information, her contact information, her website will be in the show notes of this episode. So if you're interested in the podcast, this episode, and finding more out about Catherine, her information will be on the Balanced Living for Busy Professionals website for you to view. I want to thank you for listening. I want to hear from you. I want you to leave your comments or voicemail right here on the website. Your feedback is very important. It helps us to bring the best topics and information that you want to hear. So let us know what you're thinking. Give me some new topics that we can talk about in 2018, topics that can support you in your life.
Thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This podcast is sponsored by DianeRandallConsults.com. If you like this show, the best way to support it is by leaving 5-star feedback on iTunes. And please, feel free to email your questions, comments, and suggestions to feedback@DianeRandallConsults.com. Until next week, namaste.